Hello and welcome to ISAFJORDUR.
This is the second time we visited this port in Iceland and we're really looking forward to today.
Now today is a really early start because we have an excursion at 9 AM, so we got up early and headed for breakfast.
Hi there, if you're new to our channel, we are Tom and Dom Travel and we release a new cruise related video every single week. So if you haven't done so already, press that subscribe button and don't forget to give this video a like.
On our way into ISAFJORDUR this morning, we had absolutely spectacular views. So just like the last time we were here, the mountains and the surrounding fjord were spectacular.
Yes, it's truly a magnificent view. You open your curtains to your balcony and you're just greeted with this massive mountain with snow on the top. Beautiful.
So for breakfast this morning, I had cereal and washed that down with a lovely coffee.
The breakfast selection in the Horizon Buffet is absolutely superb. You will find something to satisfy any craving. For my breakfast, even though there is this huge selection, we've got to that point in the cruise where we just like a little bit of a light breakfast. So just had a bowl of cereal, some fruit juice and some coffee. The Horizon Buffet wasn't particularly busy this morning. As Tom said, we were up relatively early because of the excursion we had booked today.
Now last time we were here in ISAFJORDUR, we had to tender to get to the port, but right now ISAFJORDUR has just opened a brand new pier where the ship can dock. It's so new that they are still outside here right now rolling the concrete. It is brand new.
Makes all the difference because ISAFJORDUR is a very small town in Iceland and the tender ride was around about 30 minutes long. So just being able to get straight off the ship, pretty much being in the centre of town, is absolutely fantastic now.
And we're not the only ship here today, so for such a small place there is a lot of people coming off ships today. Also in port today was a Ponant ship and a Viking ship.
So lots and lots of people in ISAFJORDUR today.
So in fact there is more people coming off ships than there are who live here.
This morning we had an excursion booked at 9 AM. We didn't go through Princess for this excursion. We booked direct with the company Bus Travel Iceland.
And it couldn't have been easier. We got straight off the ship, found our bus and were on board within minutes.
The bus was full as expected because there is a lot of people in port today. However, really easy process and we found the bus with no problems at all.
Now our tour guide introduced herself. It was a lady named Rachel, and no, she was not Icelandic. She was actually Australian. She told us that she had moved here for work just before the pandemic, got stuck here and has never left since.
She's now happily settled with her husband in one of the local towns near ISAFJORDUR.
And she was an absolutely fantastic guide. She's so knowledgeable. We headed towards our first stop on our excursion today, the Diangi Waterfall. Now I might not be saying that correctly, but that's what I'm going with.
Along the way, our tour guide filled us in with so many interesting facts and figures regarding the landscape, why there are so many sheep just roaming freely among the mountains and the roads. And the reason is because during the summer months, the farmers just let them loose so they can eat all of the wild berries and fatten themselves up for lambing season.
We also passed through a number of tunnels. We passed through the longest tunnel in Iceland and the newest.
One of them was only a single road where you had to give way to oncoming traffic. Now bearing in mind it was 9 kilometres long.
The tunnels took us from one fjord to the other and we passed through about 2 or 3 fjords on our way to the waterfall. Once we reached the waterfall we were given an hour to spend to walk up to the waterfall and experience it up close.
To access the waterfall we had to drive over a dirt track, quite narrow considering this waterfall is quite a popular tourist destination, so there were lots of other people there as well. When we arrived there was a car park and the only fixed structure is actually a set of toilets.
Now, if you have accessibility problems, we wouldn't recommend this tour because to walk up to the waterfall was not easy. There was a short path that was paved that you probably could use to get a wheelchair up to the bottom of the waterfall, but further than that you have no chance. It is a really difficult path and quite a few of our fellow passengers started that hike up to the top of the waterfall but gave up along the way.
There was very little paving or any pre-built steps. It was pretty much a gravel and rocky path all the way to the top, and it was quite easy to lose your footing as the ground gave way.
But once you got to the waterfall, it was absolutely spectacular. And what really made the waterfall was the noise it made. It was such a roar when you heard it, and it spread out right across the rocks.
We managed to make our way up to the top, and it took us around about 45 minutes to get up there and get back down. Bearing in mind we stopped along the way to get some videos and some photos because it was truly breathtaking.
On the way back down, we did stop off at the toilets. It is one of the only places that does have toilets locally, so it's worth bearing that in mind. After the waterfall, we headed back onto the coach and on to our next stop, which was a local family farm.
This local farm had been there for a number of generations, and it was just really interesting to see how they lived and reared and slaughtered their animals.
Yes, they had a young boy on the farm who was really the best English speaker out the lot, and he was very happy to answer questions and speak to all of us passengers. The family also offered us some cake and some hot drinks.
The cake was a traditional Icelandic marriage cake, which is quite interesting, and it's supposed to bring luck to newlywed couples.
We all had some.
I don't know why they dished it out to a busload of tourists, but it was delicious.
It was very nice, and they were such a friendly family. They were more than happy to answer questions, show us the animals they've got on the farm. We saw some of their sheep with really quite amazing horns. We saw turkeys, we saw chickens. They're fantastic sheepdog they had there as well. He was beautiful.
They did tell us all about how extreme the Icelandic weather is and just how difficult it is to make a living farming in Iceland. It was really interesting. So they've diversified and branched out and created a number of Airbnb cabins.
Tourism was not popular until a few years ago in the West Fjords there of Iceland, and now it's becoming more and more popular. They've capitalised on that really and turned their farm into somewhere people can visit.
The farm visit was around about 30 minutes, and then we made our way back to ISAFJORDUR on the bus.
Once again, our guide Rachel gave us some fantastic bits of information on the route back, talking about what goes on in the fjords, the local industries, the type of plants you could find locally. Really interesting to listen to her. Considering she's only lived there a few years, she has exceptional knowledge.
Overall, the excursion was 3.5 hours, and to be honest, it wasn't the cheapest of excursions, but because we had been to ISAFJORDUR before, we knew we should do something different than last time. The trip cost us around about £100 each for the 3.5 hours. We believe it was money well spent because the amount of information, facts, figures was incredible.
Yeah, and no excursion in Iceland is cheap at all, so yes, it definitely was worth the money for us. Once we arrived back in ISAFJORDUR, we decided to have a quick little walk around the town and visit the cultural house that we went to before.
So the cultural house is the library for ISAFJORDUR, as well as a little museum about its origins as a hospital.
Last time we were here, we found that there was a nice exhibition, surprisingly, about the Rolling Stones, so we thought we'd see what was happening in that exhibition space this time. Unfortunately, the exhibition was closed and they were waiting a new exhibition to open. We didn't get to see anything there, unfortunately. What we did then do is we headed to the local supermarket.
There's a nice big local supermarket in ISAFJORDUR just off the main road, and we just wanted to stock up on a few bits that we'd forgotten because we're going to Greenland and we're not sure as to whether or not we'll be able to get some of those items that we needed, like insect repellent. And what we found, it was quite reasonably priced in there.
And we wished we'd had some of that insect repellent when we're at the waterfall. When we're at the top of the waterfall, there was quite a few midges flying about.
One of the drawbacks to the waterfall, as much as it was absolutely spectacular, as you ascended the path, you were just attacked by midges. We wish we put a bit of insect repellent on.
The supermarket we visited was called Netto, but we did find that a lot of the products in there were of British origin, and in particular a lot of the frozen meals were actually from Iceland.
Not the country, the shop.
The supermarket that we all know in the UK which surprised us.
Quite interesting to see curly fries and a number of their own branded products in the freezer.
We then had a walk through town where we spotted once again the rainbow road that we came across the previous time we were here.
So we had to take a few photos just to reminisce and enjoy.
We didn't hang about long in town because, as we said, we've explored it all before. So we then headed back to the ship where we could get some lunch.
As we were getting close to the port, what we did notice is that there is a pop-up souvenir shop just outside the port. So if you want to pick up any traditional Icelandic souvenirs, you can pick them up from there.
And there was also a local family there who were selling some of their own baked goods, brownies and things like that, which was quite nice to see.
We got back on to Island Princess really easy. There wasn't any queues. It was just a nice sort of process. As soon as we got there, we were straight back on the ship. By now we were feeling a little bit hungry, so we actually went straight up to the Horizon buffet on deck 14 just to get ourselves a little bit of lunch. We've previously said that the selection in the Horizon buffet is absolutely superb. It was that superb today that both of us once again ended up with lots and lots of little bits of things on our plate because we didn't want to miss out on anything.
That's the problem with the buffet. You can't choose, can you? So you end up with lots of random different things.
I had a little bit of lasagna, ham and cheese sandwich, some pork and a quesadilla. Every single piece of it was absolutely delicious, even though it sounds like a really odd little mixture. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
The first thing I picked up was a chicken and mushroom pie, and that was very similar to the one Dom had for lunch in the dining room on the pub lunch day. I also had a bit of pork, cauliflower and broccoli cheese, all little random bits. Once again, nice to try a bit of everything.
In the buffet, there's free tea and coffee and water, as well as lemonade.
This lemonade is American style lemonade, so it's not like a Sprite that we'd get in the UK.
It's like a lemon squash. It's really, really nice. However, if you do fancy something from the bar or something from the coffee shop, there are plenty of waiters and servers, and they will come round and ask you if you want something.
After lunch, we decided to head back to one of those secret areas that we spoke about before. So we headed to the aft of the ship where there was an absolutely huge ensign flag there. Very damp, but it was there. It was absolutely massive, bigger than us. What was even more spectacular to how close we were to the brand new Viking Saturn.
We were so close, you could almost reach out and touch the front of the ship.
What a beautiful looking ship. You can tell she's brand new. After admiring the Viking Saturn, we headed back to the cabin for a few hours rest before we got ready for our evening meal.
Once again, we made our way down to the Bordeaux Restaurant on deck 5 at 7 p.m. for our reservation. As we've previously mentioned, we've now got a set table that is just ours at 7 o'clock every evening, and we've got the same waiters, which is absolutely fantastic because they know exactly what we want to drink and they know exactly that we like proper wine glasses.
Yes, so we sat down at our table, 2 glasses of Pinot Noir in lovely wine glasses arrived, and it was soon time to order our meal. So for starter today, I went for the chicken and bok choy soup. It was really tasty. As I said, I always like nice soup, and I'd never had a bok choy in a soup before. But there was one thing that did alarm me that I spotted after I'd had a few mouthfuls. There was an egg floating in there.
Yeah, a hard-boiled egg.
A hard-boiled egg, and we all know that I do not eat egg at all, and there was no mention of egg on the menu. Otherwise, I wouldn't have ordered it. Bit strange, and I wasn't expecting to see that egg floating up at me.
I decided to have another one of my princess favourites, and that's the vegetable spring rolls with peanut dip, and they were delicious. Really, really enjoyed those. Our waiter also suggested that we might try another dish that wasn't on the menu, and we had to say yes, really.
Yeah.
Chinese chicken dumplings.
Again with a peanut dip, but they were really tasty, weren't they?
Beautiful once again. I suppose, well, they're both deep fried, aren't they?
After starter, we were offered sorbet to cleanse our palate, and we had an orange sorbet.
They were absolutely delicious, very, very orangey and flavoursome, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I do love a good sorbet.
We then went on to our mains, where I had tandoori chicken. Now, I'd had tandoori chicken the other day as a starter, but now this was as a main. It came with rice and a poppadom, and it was very, very tasty, although a little bit more spicy than I was expecting.
And I once again went for the pork tenderloin. It was absolutely beautiful. It wasn't tough, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
For dessert today, I had the wonderful tasting milk chocolate peanut bar, and it was fab.
It did look absolutely delicious.
Well, you tried a bit.
Very chocolatey, really, really tasty. I went for the ménage à trois, which came with a little bit of apple crumble, chocolate mousse, and some raspberry panna cotta. And I've got to say, all three were absolutely delicious. They're only small individual little pieces, but they were magnificent and just enough to finish the meal with.
After dinner, we broke from tradition and headed to the Wheelhouse Bar, where I ordered myself a Cosmo.
And I went for a gin daisy. Now, they do have a separate drinks menu. There are a certain number of drinks you can only get in the Wheelhouse Bar, and a gin daisy is one of them. Absolutely beautiful. Gin, orange liqueur, delicious. I've got to say, got to be one of my favourite drinks. Doesn't compete with a good G&T Ultimate from Good Spirits, but it was absolutely delicious.
Yeah, and my Cosmo wasn't just a normal Cosmo, it was a champagne Cosmo. So yeah, something different in the Wheelhouse Bar there.
Again, there was a little bit of live entertainment, and it is a really, really nice, calming venue.
We really do like the Wheelhouse Bar. It is something different, but it does get busy. Well, halfway through our drinks, we had to head out into the theatre because it was time for tonight's production show, Do You Wanna Dance?
So this is the second of 3 production shows that we're going to have here on Island Princess, and we were really, really looking forward to it. The first production show, Encore, was incredibly busy. People were sat in the aisles, people were standing at the back. So tonight we thought, right, we've got to get there in good time to make sure that we get a good seat, and we did.
Also, one thing is that passengers do wait at the back of the theatre until 5 minutes before the show starts. The reason being is that premiere seating is reserved up until 5 minutes before the show starts. Then there is an announcement to say all premiere seating is now available to any guest, and at that point people start moving into the premiere seats. If you do have a premiere package, make sure you get to the theatre early because you will lose your seat if you arrive there late. Now, the show itself, Do You Want to Dance, was pretty short. It was probably one of the shorter production shows we've seen, and the dancing was okay. So it showcased different dances from around the world. We had some Irish dancing, some Latin dancing, some Indian dancing. So all of it was executed okay, but not really perfect. For example would be in the Irish section of the show, you'd really want to hear that tap noise that you get from when you're watching Lord of the Dance or River Dance, something like that. But they did the action, but you didn't really get the sound. The show was good, but not great.
Overall, the cast being able to perform every single one of them dances superbly, you can't ask for that, because it takes years and years and years to sort of master those dances. Overall, we did enjoy it. We just felt it was very, very short. It was less than 30 minutes long.
Another thing to point out is that if you don't like smoke, theatrical smoke, do not sit in the first few rows, because there is a lot of it used in the show, particularly when the cast rise out of the stage. Definitely a few people coughing there at the front. After the show finished, we headed to Good Spirits to try one of their cocktails.
Now, unfortunately, we couldn't get anything from the Good Spirits menu because of one thing or another, whether it was out of stock or they'd locked everything away for the evening. So we were a little bit disappointed, but we'll try again tomorrow, and fingers crossed.
Now, we have found that there's only one bartender in Good Spirits who can make the Good Spirits drinks, and if he's not there, then you're not getting one, basically, because the others do not know how to make it, and they do not keep it a secret that no one is trying them. They're quite confident in telling you that they have not been trained in Good Spirits, so they won't be making the drinks, which is a bit of a shame really, because it is one of our favourite bars.
However, Karen, who is the trained Good Spirits bartender, is absolutely superb.
He is superb at making them, isn't it? He is. So after our disappointment in Good Spirits, we headed to our usual spot of Explorers Lounge, where we got to see a different show in Explorers tonight.
Yes, it was the Princess Orchestra playing a little show for us.
What a really talented bunch they are. All the music was introduced by the ship's musical director, Paul, who told us all about each of the members of the band and a little bit about his own story as well.
They performed a number of songs from different genres, and we got to say, We thoroughly enjoyed the experience, as did the rest of the passengers in the Explorers Lounge.
It really gave us feelings of Take 5, that type of jazz music atmosphere, didn't it? It was really, really good.
I decided to go for a different cocktail from the menu tonight, a dark and stormy with ginger beer, and it was really, really tasty, but very, very sharp. The ginger beer did have a little bit of a punch. After the Princess Orchestra then, it was time for the entertainment team to spin some hits in the late night disco.
At this point we got chatting to some of our fellow passengers. It's time to say a big hello to John and Carol, who we've met most nights there in Explorers Lounge, and we've really enjoyed their company, so a big hello to you guys. And we got to have a chat with them and see some of the waiters doing their dancing. So today on board it is actually Indian Independence Day, and some of the waiters were heading to a party tonight, and you could definitely tell because they were in that party mood. They gave us a bit of a dance behind the bar, didn't they? They had a little routine going on. Really, really fun.
The bartenders in the Explorers Lounge have definitely got some personality. They already know us by name. Some really, really good members of staff.
You know, time had gone on by then. It was nearly 1 o'clock, so it was time to head back to the cabin to get some rest. But obviously we couldn't go to sleep until we did one more thing.
As has become a tradition now, we did order a little bit of room service, cheesy chips and a burger, and once again absolutely delicious. And again we've got the Princess Plus package, so those new delivery charges do not apply to us, fortunately, otherwise it would cost us an absolute fortune.
And that was the end of our day here in ISAFJORDUR.
Tomorrow is our last port in Iceland, Reykjavik, and we're really looking forward to it. This will be the second time we've docked in Reykjavik. However, on our previous visit, we did a 10-hour Golden Circle trip. So tomorrow, we're just planning on going ashore and just exploring this capital city. Thanks for watching our day in ISAFJORDUR on Island Princess. If you've got any comments or questions, just pop them in the box below and we'll get back to you.
And please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification button to never miss a video from us.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching. We've got lots more content available on our YouTube channel, so press that subscribe button. If you're interested in receiving daily updates, we're available on most social media platforms. Just search for Tom and Dom Travel.